have you seen my phone? No, I haven't seen it. What are you doing? Nothing. No! No! You're shading with black! I have to show you everything, don't I? Hey guys, it's Justin again with another quick tutorial. This one's going to be on shading using colors instead of black. Someone in my previous comments to a different video asked me if I could do a video on shading using colors and what colors to use and why I use them. I don't remember the name of that user, so I apologize if you see this. This one is for you, buddy. Essentially, I like to shade with color. That's the easiest way it is. Shading, there's no real way to make shading look super realistic on a posable model kit, because once you pose, any lighting work that you've done has essentially been destroyed. So what I like to do is either use some sort of color modulation that looks completely ridiculous no matter how you look at it, just sort of creates contrast within the panels so you can see what's going on, or I'll use the panel lighting technique. And the reason I like the panel lighting technique is because it just shades everything evenly. It looks weird and it doesn't look natural or realistic, but it's easy to achieve and it adds depth to the panels and things like that. So this method can be used either way. You can use it for anything, really. This is just kind of my look into showing you how you would pick what colors to shade what other colors. Now you can tweak this any way you want. There's a multitude of ways to shade using colors. I know there's people that do like to use black on everything. That's fine. There's people that like to add black to their colors to darken them and then use that to shade, and there's also people that like to use the opposite on the color wheel to shade. So for example, you would use green to shade red, or you would use blue to shade orange, yellow, and purple. Completely up to you. I don't like that personally because it turns everything kind of a brown in the middle, and I don't really think that brown looks good on every color. But that's just me. So I use kind of complementary-esque colors, and this is something I sort of discovered by accident and then was later told that it was actually the proper way to do things. If you guys have been following me that long, one of my early airbrush builds, the first airbrush build that I actually shaded, I used blue on my Blue Frame Second Revised kit. And the idea was I was going to be using metallic blues for all the frame, but I wanted to shade all the armor using a blue so that the blue would stick through and it would just have like this kind of color harmony kind of thing going on. And at the time I thought it would just be something ridiculous and unique, but as it turns out, blue is actually the color that you use to shade a lot of colors, because as far as I've been told anyway, color theory, the way color theory works, a lot of colors are actually blue. It's just the way that we perceive them, they're different colors. And that's why using blue to shade white is okay. So what I've done here is I've taken 8 spoons. I've got the 3 primary colors, the 3 secondary colors, and 2 whites. I'm not going to go over shading black because it's one of those things where I'll either use like a really dark gray and shade it with a blue or a purple, or I'll use a black base and I'll put like a really dark gray over it in like a post shade kind of way. So that's really easy to do. The biggest key is to either use the blackest black that you have and then step up from that, or to just not use black at all. It's really a no-brainer. So what I've got here, I'll take these down so you guys can see. I've got 2 white spoons. All these spoons are primed in white. The reason I prime them in white is because white primer will make your colors the brightest. So the idea here isn't that I'm showing error or anything like that. I just want you to see the colors at their brightest. So these are the 2 spoons that are going to be painted white. This one is primed black, and that's just to demonstrate what black would look like if you pre-shaded with black. This one is pre-shaded blue, the way that I would pre-shade blue. Now for the rest of the spoons, I've got 1 of each. We'll start with the primaries. I've got 1 spoon for every primary color, 1 spoon for every secondary color. And I went a step further than I planned on going, because I figured if this is going to be any kind of tutorial or example, you should be able to see the shading both ways. So here's red. On this side it is painted black. On this side it is painted brown. Now the reason I use brown is because a darkened red eventually turns into sort of a brown anyway. It's a very warm color, I guess, and it's got a nice earthy tone. It'll kind of very subtly bring your shade out. Blue I will typically shade with either purple or a really dark blue. I usually use dark blue because it blends better, and I like the way that it looks. Once you get that shade that you want, you can build a really nice rich blue tone out of it. But again, you can see the black. And lastly, for primaries, we have yellow. This is going to be shaded on one side with orange. Again, it kind of blends up, and you'll notice a transition between the colors. And the other side is black. Now this is going to be one of the big ones where you're going to see a huge ugly contrast between these colors, because shading yellow with black is really hard to pull off, and it's just really hard to do in general. So now that we have that done, we'll look at our secondary colors. We have green. Now green is a very earthy tone. It's very naturey, so brown is the best solution for that, I think. It just kind of harmonizes well, I think. And then there's black again. Green looks weird on black, or with black under it. Purple. Purple you can either shade with a really dark blue. I didn't pick my darkest blue when I picked my blues out, but I picked a really dark blue, or black. Again, I don't think it's going to look super good. And the last one I have is orange. Orange you just kind of shade with red. The way that shading warm colors goes, you just kind of go along that spectrum. So you'll be brown, then you'll be orange, then you'll be red. And that is how you shade your red, yellow, and oranges. So these are all the spoons. They're all done up. They're all ready to go. So I'm going to go and I'm going to spray these, maybe 3 layers of each color, just so that it's like a medium shade. You can still see the contrast, and you'll be able to see the color through it, because a lot of people that do shade like a heavier shade. Not everybody prefers that subtle look. So I'm going to do it in the middle so you guys can see a little bit of both, and you can see the contrast build, and you can decide for yourself what shading method is for you. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back and everything's all painted up. So we're going to go ahead and have a look at these, and we'll see how they look. So first we're going to start with the white, because white is the biggest culprit of this. A lot of people shade their whites with black. And here's the difference. Can you see it? This one is shaded with black. It's very strong. It's a little, I mean, they're both pretty strong. Like I said, I shaded each one of these with 3 layers. But the blue covers a little bit better. It darkens just enough to call it a shade, and it helps blend in the way that it's supposed to. The black is still really strong and requires a lot more coats to cover it. And that's another thing that you need to take in consideration when you're shading using different colors, is a lot of people don't think about the thickness of the paint. Some paints cover a lot better than others, and this will be especially evident in colors, brighter colors. So your warmer tones will be a little bit harder to cover than your darker tones. You'll see which ones blend better and which ones don't. But all the paints that I'm showing, I used 3 layers over. So there's the blue, there's the black, very strong contrast. If you feather the black, you could probably get away with it if you put another layer or 2 over it. But the blue is a little easier to work with, I found. So the first one we're going to look at is red. Red, the black is really kind of strong. The brown is strong as well. I probably, could have gotten away with using a, this is the black side. The brown, I probably could have gotten away with using a little bit lighter of a brown. But I used a nice dark, I tried to use dark colors for everything so you could see the true contrast, but you can adjust as you need. But you can see that when I turn the black spoon like that, that black just really sticks through. When I turn the brown one, it's a little bit more of a subtle shift. You can still see it on both sides, but the black is much stronger. And it really makes that red kind of muddy looking. The next color we're going to look at is blue. Now this is one of the few that I'm gonna admit that black doesn't look awful on it, and I think that's just because it's a dark color. It helps, you know. But the nice dark blue, it really slowly blends. You can barely see the shade line. It blended really well. But the black, if you want kind of a subtle shift, but you still want the line to be there, I don't see a reason why using black would be an awful thing on blue. But again, dark blues and purples will definitely pull you into that blended line. It'll look really nice, very subtle. And the worst of the batch is definitely the yellow. Yellow, when you shade yellow with black, it turns kind of green. And when you shade it with orange, it's more of a transition effect. It's not super evident on camera as it is in person, but the orange is still very much there. It's very heavy. There we go. You can see it a lot better that way. But when you turn it, the light hits it. These are white lights, by the way. It sort of blends it. So when you're looking at it head on, it looks just blended. But when you turn it towards that, you can see the shading more. And that's one of the cool things about shading, is that sometimes you can, when you shave like curved objects and stuff like that, you'll see the colors kind of pop in and out depending on which angle you're looking at it. But very cool, subtle effect using the orange. I really like to shade yellow with orange. So the next we're going to look at is green. This one's probably my favorite. And this actually came out better with the black than I thought it would. This is another one of those ones where I'm going to kind of almost concede, but not quite. So this side, when you turn it this way, you can see the black kind of pop out a little bit. When you turn it the other way, that brown just... yeah. It just kind of fades in. You can still see it, but it fades a little better. See, the black, it's just really strong. It really sticks out there. The brown blends it in a lot better. And I really like this green. Next we'll look at purple. Purple's another favorite of mine. Same as before. I used the blue. The blue, I probably could have used a little bit darker of a blue. I picked like the darkest one that I had plenty of to use. And I don't have a ton of purple, but purple covers a lot better. I think this is actually about 2.5 coats. But the paint was also a little bit thicker than I wanted to. You can see it kind of ran down the bottom a little bit. It might have been a little thinner than I wanted, but again, the black, it doesn't look awful, but it doesn't transition as well either. So the blue really helps transition your color. And the last one we're going to look at is orange. So the orange, again, just like the yellow, it's really strong contrast versus really smooth contrast. It's just a matter of what you're going for. I'm always going to recommend using red to shade orange. It just looks really nice. And you can even tier these if you wanted to do like a orange, like a really dark burnt orange into a yellow. You could just use the lining, and then you'll post shade a yellow into the middle here and just kind of fan it out, and it'll create a really neat looking transition effect. But the black, again, it doesn't look bad from like this angle where you don't see it as much, but when you slowly get over there, you can see that black just sticks right through, and it doesn't look good at all. But again, when you pull it this way, it's still kind of smooth. You can still see that it's shaded, but the more you get towards the black, the heavier it is, the more it sticks out, and the harder it is to cover. So that is my tutorial for shading with colors, why I use the colors and which colors to use, and hopefully you guys enjoyed and learned a little bit. If you did enjoy, leave a like, leave a comment, tell me you hate me, I don't care. And I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching.